fire bans. cowTard, LeBlanc, and Wukong taken away, along with Kassadin, Lucian, and Lulu. And I'm wondering, with that Lucian ban, are they going to try and lock in? No, they're going to go straight away. Lee Sin picked in there for Amazing.
Now, I wonder if the Elise is going to be a consideration here for Alliance. These are some very, very quick bans, and it tells you that both of these teams are basically ready, I think is the best way to explain it. If you know your opponent is going to go with this sort of strategy, it allows you to react quite quickly, and so far the game plan seems to be positive. Alliance taking their time on these picks now.
And they're also trying to take everything away from Forgiven. You can see the Lucian taken away, and they're already thinking Caitlyn, of course, for Tabzz. They're going to try and put Forgiven in an uncomfortable place. Teams have tried this before, though, and it hasn't really worked. He'll fall back to Jinx.
So he will fall back to Jinx. We have also seen Forgiven playing Ezreal in the past, depending on what the rest of the composition is going to be. Just in terms of numbers, Forgiven's played Lucian 8 games, which is why it's banned, and then he's played 6 times on Caitlyn. So out of the team's 17 matches, 14 of those are on 2 specific champions. Alliance have made it very clear that Elise is not a priority because the jungle was already locked in for the Copenhagen Wolves.
They also went for Thresh while Annie was available, which means we could be seeing maybe an Annie alongside it. Jinx. We'll see what the Copenhagen Wolves decide to go with this time around. Of course, it does mean that the likes of a lot of champions other than LeBlanc and cowTard, well, that's a champion that Froggen almost certainly wants, but it does leave a lot of doors open for Froggen.
So cowTard has still played Kayle in the mid lane even after the changes.
Yep.
I believe he's the only mid laner that's done it. The other big farm-heavy champions like Gragas, Ziggs, Orianna, they are all still up. And so the LeBlanc was actually banned out. So for Froggen, the option or the opportunity to go for a farm-heavy lane is still there for him.
Yeah, the Ziggs, of course, being available. You can see, of course, Copenhagen Wolves, they did lock in that Annie and the Gragas. So that means it will be unlimited on the Annie. We'll see how that works out for him. He's been hit and miss over the last couple of weeks. Well, the last 2 weeks he's played fantastic, but the weeks before that, a little bit shaky. But Nidalee, that's an opportunity for Froggen, and as a mechanical player, he doesn't tend to miss those spears. I mean, if you can think he can land everything with Anivia, just think what he can land with Nidalee.
Yeah, and I actually think, if I recall correctly, it was Fnatic that ran the Nidalee against Gambit last week, and they played a composition where they were very mobile. They didn't pick fights, they waited for Poke to go down, and then once Poke landed, they then engaged and then they then pushed for maps. So this is quite a smart pick. We did see Tabzz was locking in the jungler for Shook, and he was considering the Evelynn. The thought process was there. Do we want Eve? The only reason I highlight that, even though Elise is locked in, is teams are actually, I think, moving a little bit away from Elise, considering she's banned out so often and she's not played in scrims. Teams are learning to play effectively with other champions. Regardless, Elise is locked in and Shook's going to be on it.
Yeah, this, again, Ziggs being left on the table, not being taken. So, will be left. We do see the Copenhagen Wolves deciding what AD carry will they go with. Will they fall back to that Jinx, or will they go with the Ezreal? They need mobility, it seems here.
So I actually feel like the Jinx is not too terrible in this situation because there's very little that's going to jump onto the Copenhagen Wolves. Their top lane is most likely going to be Renekton or Trundle. It is something that they could consider. And generally, when you run a Jinx, you don't want to run it into hard engage like an Annie, and you don't want to run into anybody that can dive on you.
So, we do see the Jinx locked in, but the Trundle is being thought about by YoungBuck in the top lane. I know for a fact Wickd absolutely hates this champion. We had the interview with him last week, and he was talking about how he was trying his best to get the team to ban this out. He absolutely detests playing against the Trundles.
Yeah, he really does. Yesterday, however, he had a very good performance on the champion itself.
Yes, he absolutely loves playing it, but he hates playing it against it.
There's 2 points that is there. With the Trundle being locked in, there's some very good scaling. I don't know if Olaf is an actual consideration or if it's just a troll. If you follow Wickd on Twitter, he went past an Allianz bank that was on Olaf top street, quite literally. He did the same thing yesterday and just calling it out. Renekton is a little bit more likely. It's something Wickd has played multiple times in the past, and I think, assuming Wickd wants to get a little bit more aggressive, he can potentially shut down Trundle. What I want to know is YoungBuck going to go for the triple Dorans? Triple Dorans into Renekton is what allowed Wickd to beat Mima yesterday. So the tools are there if he wants to.
Ooh, he's thinking of the Aurelia. He's discussing it with the team, and I think they're arguing it back and saying, are you sure on this one, Wickd? But it will be Aurelia. He hasn't got a 100% win rate on it anymore, but it is his signature champion.
So this will be the 4th time that Wickd has played Aurelia in the LCS in the top lane. He's got 3 wins, 2 losses leading up to this game. He's got a very good KDA, 14.5. In this matchup, I think both of these champions are going to scale very well, but I prefer the power that Eternal offers in a team fight. That Pillar of Ice cannot be discounted. It is an incredible disruption tool, and it really allows the Copenhagen Wolves to control and zone Alliance if they're able to force team fights.
Well, they're just transferring all the champions around. Actually, they've got to be pretty quick changing around. They do have a 20-second timer on that one, so they had to lock them all in just before that counted. Both top laners currently sat with that teleport, so we'll see how that one works out. I recall a conversation with Froggen where the teleport was supposedly not available, according to Wickd in the top lane, and yet the opposition teleported in and turned that fight around. So, best keep track of that one this time around.
I think in terms of compositions, I feel like the Copenhagen Wolves is a slightly better, well-rounded comp. It can do a lot of things effectively, but you cannot discount the range and the poke that Nidalee is going to offer.
Well, we're checking your votes before each game, and of course, over on Lolly Sports. And looking at this one, well, it's pretty close. 56% of you have chosen the Copenhagen Wolves, over 44% for Alliance.
This is a 5-0 Copenhagen Wolves. I think their recent run of performance is showing well. It didn't work out for SK in the previous game, unfortunately, but you can never discount Gambit. And I think for this game, you know, Alliance, they did look pretty good yesterday. They played patiently, they played controlled. They've got a comp that they need to do a similar thing with now. A lot of range. Caitlyn, Nidalee, even Elise throws out those volatile spiderlings. We'll see how well they control the game.
Well, this is, what, 4th place versus 7th place, if my memory serves correct in the standings currently. And the Copenhagen Wolves are going to try and make it 6 wins on the road, taking down Alliance. They are starting out as the blue team, and Alliance are the red team. This is game 2 of the day. If you've already missed the first match, well, Gambit versus SK was a fantastic one, and while Alliance are using up all their pings, and now they're going to have, sorry, no pings available.
So, for the record, the same thing happened yesterday. I think I'm going to have to get in touch with the referees and file an official complaint. I believe we should be able to say this is a disruption of the broadcast. Slow, early level 1, and the ping warfare is all that we can talk about. I'm not expecting any team to really go very deep, and as it stands right now, it's just everybody covering their own bases.
Well, technically they are saying there's a missing champion on. I'm not too sure what's going on.
Let's not justify it. It's horrible and should be stopped.
It should be stopped now. So, no early invades from these teams, and honestly, other than Millennium, we really don't get to see that too often anymore.
No, we do not, and it's part of the reason in the next patch, those ward trinkets are going to be pushed back just a little bit, and they'll be respawning at, or going to have a ward at 155 on the new patch as opposed to 130. In theory, giving you that additional 30 seconds of darkness means that teams are going to have a little bit more time to play with. Part of the reason we have such slow starts to the game is because of the fact that teams are going to be able to throw down a ward shortly, and there's so much information to work with. You never want to make a play unless you're 100% confident that you are outplaying your opponents.
Ward warfare and ping warfare. At the moment, though, it is going to be amazing. YoungBuck and cowTard all leashing off on the blue buff. So that's the start for them. Meanwhile, red buff start for Alliance. You see Shook ready and waiting to go for that one. Wickd will be helping her out just up the top there. So, standard lanes for both of these teams. What do we expect? How do we see this one going?
So let's start in the top lane between YoungBuck and Wickd. What we have seen from Wicked Aurelia the few times we've seen in the LCS, he runs out of mana very, very quickly. So if YoungBuck is able to play a bit of a harass game and force Wickd to use his stuns and his dashes onto YoungBuck, once Wickd runs low on mana, all of a sudden YoungBuck's going to have the advantage. I also think the sustain that YoungBuck has on Trundle is going to be more effective than Aurelia in prolonged fights. But in immediate one-on-ones, Aurelia should have a little bit of advantage.
Well, this bottom lane generally tends to be the focus point once they hit level 2. You can see some good poke onto Forgiven there from Tabzz, really making sure he uses that headshot proc on towards Forgiven. He will manage to land the Piltover as well, so good poke, and it's Alliance to hit level 2 first and bully them straight out.
Yeah, immediately pushing them back. Forgiven's actually taken a lot of damage early on, so he doesn't want to get caught. They've caught Unlimited.
Death Sentence and Flare on Unlimited. He's taken low, the Ignite being used, but the Piltover, I don't believe, was used by Tabzz there.
No, I don't think Tabzz actually cast that one. We did see him just landing those auto attacks, and Limited now forced incredibly low. This is how the Caitlyn Thresh lane, in theory, should go against the likes of Jinx, who is shorter on range right now. And as it stands, Tabzz and Nyph need to make sure they don't get ganked. Something that Amazing has done very well in the past, and something that we've seen in the previous game, Jesus was able to roam against the heavy pushing Caitlyn Thresh. We'll see if anyone from Copenhagen Wolves wants to do similar.
Oh, cheeky backwards barrel rolls from cowTard onto Froggen. Then we'll see how this one develops in the mid lane. cowTard has to be effectively a melee champion. I mean, he is in there. He has that barrel, which a lot of people in the maybe lower levels tend to use to farm, which we also saw cowTard doing there. But most Gragas these days do tend to get in their melee than last hits.
And it makes it very effective right now, because if cowTard is in and amongst the wave, it makes Froggen's javelin tosses much more difficult to land. As long as cowTard is calculated in his decision-making, he can do well. Yesterday, if memory serves, he gave up a kill to Peke, if I recall correctly, or if it was last week. He was playing Lulu at the time. He actually underestimated the early damage that Gragas has thanks to his attack damage steroid from his Drunken Rage.
Yeah, that belly slam into barrel, quickly catching him out there. Froggen, though, not giving up any of that CS, making sure he gets all those spears in just about right there, and he's actually kept ahead of cowTard in farm. That's incredible, really, for Italy.
So we did see that YoungBuck actually backed away, so he moved out of lane. He's now coming back up as the wave is going to be pushing towards him, and he's already got 2 Doran's items. We seen yesterday Wickd win for 3. I want to keep my eyes on YoungBuck in his decision-making, if he feels 2 is enough or not.
I also want to see which way Wicked's going to build this one. Almost certainly will be a Trinity Force, but it's the question of how he starts it off. Will it be that Sheen proc that seems to work out very well? He's just going to keep on last hitting, churning down, trying to get as much down on these minions, and he is pushing quite well on towards YoungBuck.
Yeah, he is doing quite a lot at this stage in time. Wickd needs to be auto-attacking to obviously get that sustain up, whereas Trundle's passive will give him HP when anything dies. Amazing gets caught out by a Caitlyn trap, and we talked about how somebody needs to move in and try help out this duo lane. Amazing was the first to attempt it. It didn't work out this time around.
No, we do see them continuing that farm, and it's actually very even between the two at the moment. cowTard continuing to push right up against the tower there for Froggen.
Yeah, what I did see is if you look at Froggen's skill order, he's actually got 2 points into his Javelin Toss, and he's got 2 points into his Primal Surge swipe. So that's actually the heal. And when he goes into his Cougar form now at level 6, it'll also give him more AoE damage, which will allow him to counter-push the wave a little more effectively. You have to give props to Froggen for staying even on CS at this early level on Italy, because it is very difficult against the AoE and the poke that cowTard's putting down. I mean, cowTard's been in Froggen's face the entire time. Yeah,
he's really doing a great job of last hitting on that. Given standing on one of those traps, making sure, and actually almost baiting Nyph into that hook there. Nyph just waiting. Full mana bar for Nyph as well, so he's really been playing passively in that lane, which I feel actually would suit the Copenhagen Wolves.
Yeah, I think the Copenhagen Wolves will be fairly happy to give both Trundle and Jinx time to farm up. Gragas, obviously, the wave clear and the damage he has is very good. Instead, they're making the first play on the tower.
Making great use of Froggen. He tried to back away a moment ago, and he's got no mana in there. They're putting a lot of pressure on this one. Shook's making his way down here, but look at that. They've already chunked off half the hit points from that mid-tower.
Yeah, and that's because of the fact that Nidalee has got no low-level wave clear. In order for her to get on those minions... Oh, they've caught Unlimited!
The hook goes in, the flay lands on towards him, but he just turns it back around, puts the stone down, the chomper's on towards Nyph, and actually good damage trade back from Forgiven.
I think that was a little bit calculated, Unlimited and Forgiven realizing they could turn around. Now they're on Tabzz, and here comes Shook.
This is a great bait though. Shook's going to come in, and Unlimited almost certainly will be the first blood, but who will take it? It will be Shook.
Yeah, very, very well played. Shook was in the right area at the right time, and I think Unlimited being a little overzealous. Not Forgiven!
The cocoon landed, and well, if anybody else would have reacted quick enough, they would have got themselves the double in the bottom lane.
Yeah, not this time around. Tabzz had his flash, decided to hold on to it, didn't jump in there. That was a very good play, and Shook being involved in first blood on Elise, it is something we've seen before, and very importantly, he managed to help out that bottom lane even further.
And more importantly, what I hate to see and hate to say, Unlimited is involved in that first blood again. It's something that is fairly regular, but the supports do tend to get picked on, of course. Ruby Crystal was picked up by Unlimited, so making sure he gets some health on the next time around.
So when you play a champion like Annie, in many ways similar to Sona, and my reasoning for this, no escape. You know, no built-in mobility, really, no built-in way to deal with the gank other than landing a perfect stun. And in this situation, Unlimited, even though he did stun up both Tabzz and Nyph, Shook was able to repel away from that W, and he came down and managed to get the kill. So if you've got hard CC that can lock down a squishy target like an Annie, you can jump onto her. You wait out her Molten Shield. Once the E goes away, she loses that armor, loses that MR, and you can squash her down. YoungBuck is recalled for the second time. We just caught a glimpse of it, and he's returning to the lane with a Giant's Belt. He's actually struggling against Wickd in these early stages. He's falling a little bit behind in CS.
Yeah, we'll see how that one works out. cowTard's going to get himself that blue buff for the mid lane. We also saw Froggen going away, get himself the pretty much the completed Athene's and Holy Grail. Hasn't quite got the final recipe of that one. Nyph and Tabzz, they have gone back, and it's a BF sword for Tabzz up against the second Doran's Blade and Vamp Scepter for Forgiven.
So that lane was already an advantage to Tabzz and Nyph, and now with the big damage bonus they've just secured, they should be able to take even more charge or control it. What I'd like to see from Alliance is using some of those wards to get vision in the tri-bush in the river, and then almost pull Amazing or cowTard towards them. And when that happens, you can use the teleport from Wickd or have Shook nearby for a counter gank. You see Shook, he's already moving towards that tri-bush.
Shook's heading down there. We'll see where Amazing goes, because wherever Amazing goes, that's when the kills actually do happen for Copenhagen Wolves. And as of yet, he's just taking away that red buff, not quite close by, so we may see a second return kill from Shook here. Remember, the flash still available for Unlimited, but not for Forgiven. Barrier is up. The death sentence doesn't land, and they're going to try and turn some of this damage back around. Ooh, we did see cowTard trying to head on down here. And Amazing is lingering by, but it's going to continue taking shots.
So just a little bit of poke back and forth. I think if those skill shots had landed, maybe something could have happened for Alliance, but they didn't. So Copenhagen Wolves get away somewhat unscathed. You actually see Unlimited moving in to get some vision. He's a little bit overextended, and look at the poke on Forgiven.
Because he's going for the dragon. Shook, we didn't quite see it there, trying to take it down with those spiderlings. Shook does come in there, but he gets cocooned up there. A lot of damage on Amazing, has to safeguard away on towards Unlimited. The rest of Alliance move in. That barrel coming in there. Explosive cast comes out. Too late though, and Shook took it with the smite.
So that was a little bit risky, but Alliance made it work. They were able to respond quickly enough. Amazing forced a safeguard out of the pit, and then cowTard's explosive cast did come down a tiny bit late in that situation. I think Alliance, with a very early dragon and a very aggressive play, they made it work, and they've got themselves nearly a 2,000 gold lead.
The stun on Nyph, the death sentence was thrown out, didn't land on Forgiven, would have gone through despite the stun already going on towards him. Zap being used for Forgiven there to farm out. Forgiven's one of those players that we've seen heavy farming over the last few weeks, taking a massive advantage, but as of yet, Tabzz has got a good advantage over him.
Yeah, I think the lane matchup is part of the reason he's down on CS, and another reason that Forgiven often gets massive CS numbers is because his team feeds him and channels him the farm from the side lanes and that center lane once the roaming starts beginning. Forgiven will go off to the side, grab himself some CS, and then start looking for the team fights, looking for his team to go for the supports.
As of yet, at the moment, they are continuing to keep that pressure on. Sheen has been picked up now by Wickd. And at the moment, Trinity Force is almost complete. He did just go back, but he didn't complete the item, which is what I was expecting. Instead, just got himself that ward, which is something you don't always see Wickd doing. So maybe this is his team saying, you really need to be warding out that top lane.
I also think it signals an intention to maybe extend this laning phase a little more. You know, we've been seeing the pushes back and forth, but Tabzz and Nyph have not made any effort to go on the tower. You know, they've been poking down, they've been trying to keep Forgiven, denying him CS and just controlling the tempo of that lane, as opposed to trying to force the tower down. But do you see now that Amazing is moving his way towards this middle lane? This could be the first gank, it is!
Get the belly slam, oh, the explosive cast sent him the wrong way. Pounce was already being used by Froggen, got himself out of danger, no problem.
Yeah, the Pounce plus the flash meant that the explosive cost knocked him to safety, which is a very, very good play. I think Froggen doing well in that middle lane. He's still down a tiny bit of CS, but in a lane that is sort of favoring cowTard for farming, I actually think he's doing well. Now, all of a sudden, it's cowTard that's going to get ganked. Here comes Shook.
Shook got well in place, but the cocoon not going to land, and the spear taken like a man from Amazing.
Yeah, Amazing taking one for the team there. Blocking it off for cowTard. I think probably going to see Amazing back off in the not too distant future. He still hasn't gone back to buy after grabbing himself that Spirit of the Elder Lizard. But for the time being, it's all about Alliance. They're farming up. They're playing this one safely, and Shook, he's going to counter jungle as well.
He's coming back around towards his bottom lane, and it really has been camped. I talked about how he needs to start making those plays, and it seems to be working for him. He's just waiting in the bush, and you can see Nyph ready and waiting with that death sentence. They're going to make their move once again. Shook comes around, the cocoon thrown out. Oh, flashed away. Double-pronged attack there. Neither of them landing. One
flash for Nyph gets both the flashes of Forgiven and Unlimited. Froggen still wants more though. Realizing there's no flashes available, Unlimited and Forgiven could get dove.
Spears flash past, and the Copenhagen Wolves realize they've got a bit of a problem down this bottom lane. 4 members of Alliance are pushing on towards that turret. Repel comes out from Shook, comes straight back in there. The Copenhagen Wolves will only defend it for now.
Yeah, well, that's the first time that we've seen Alliance making a real effort for the tower. We did see Froggen has backed away. He's recalled to pick up his Athenes and Holy Grail and a blue pot, so signaling a potential fight in the near future. The rest of Alliance, even though they're getting some auto attacks down on the turret, we'll see now what Nyph tries to set up. Just holding off for the time being. Cocoon connects, doesn't really matter.
Pressure continue on that tower, and Forgiven taking a lot of abuse there. That's going to be the ace in the hole, blocked off by Unlimited. Just off on the top of your screen, you can see Amazing is close by this time around. We also have cowTard. He's heading down the river right now, but he's going to get spotted out by that ward in the river.
Yeah, it depends how quickly Alliance react. They've now backed away, now that they've seen vision of cowTard. cowTard's still going in by the looks of it. Can he explode them?
He goes in, gets the explosive cast, catches Shook out, but immediately takes the lantern from Nyph.
That was very, very good play. Nyph was able to just react and realize, hey, if I get knocked towards the tower, I'm fine. YoungBuck's now being doped.
YoungBuck's already used his ultimate, and Wickid's trying to take advantage of that one. Puts a big burst down onto YoungBuck and forces him back to base.
So that's what I'm expecting to happen for a while longer. Because Aurelia's going to have the on-hit true damage, and she's building aggressively, in a straight-up 1v1, I think YoungBuck is going to continue to lose for a little while longer. He's still going to build toward a Cutlass now, or just picked it up rather, so that'll help, but I still feel like Aurelia's going to be better in the dueling scenario until YoungBuck hits probably level 13, level 14, gets Randians completed and that Blade of the Ruined King. Then it's going to become a lot more interesting in the duel.
Well, as expected, you can see cowTard is starting to edge ahead in that farm against Froggen because that Gragas up against the Nidalee. Ooh, Shook being spotted out there. Froggen quickly playing defensive duty, throwing out them spears to cowTard, not going to land. Back in that top lane, teleport was used by YoungBuck to actually get himself back in towards that top lane to put pressure back on the tower from Wickd. Shook's going to come in, try and steal away that blue, but not going to work out. The bottom lane, well, Alliance are doing a great job, and quick, the Tibbers on towards Tabzz there, forces him away. Nyph going very deep, actually the turret being tanked out there, did stand on towards those traps, but Forgiven does not have the damage.
No, Forgiven's only got a Vamp Scepter right now, and I'm happy you pointed that teleport out in the top lane, because it's not available for the dragon fight. Forgiven's going to be doped here by Froggen.
Zap lands on towards him, spear is back up, and he's just going to pounce in Cougar form, comes on towards him, the claws come out, and Froggen gets a kill.
Almost missing it, but it works out at the end. Froggen grabs himself a kill. They get themselves a tower in the bottom lane, extend that gold lead. Copenhagen Wolves need to defend the dragon as it's about to spawn in the next 20 seconds. They are able to grab a tower at the very least.
A tower trade, but will it be the inner tower for Alliance? They're continuing to push here. Nothing can stop them. And the Copenhagen Wolves, well, with those minions, they will take themselves another tower Alliance, and they are really doing a great job here against the Wolves.
So this is somewhat of a fast push team, if I can even use that terminology. Caitlyn, plus the attack speed buff that you're going to get from a Nidalee, and the fact that she's going to be able to be very mobile around the map, has allowed Alliance to roam and rotate in this middle game area. They've got that tower down, they got a lot of damage, and now they've set up for Dragon. Amazing is going to look for a steal, but this is going to be risky.
Manages to hook it on Nyph. Will he make it in there? You can see he's ready and waiting to go on this one. Still going to have that Sonic Wave.
He got it!
He got it with the Sonic Wave! My God!
That is phenomenal, and that is a hashtag LCS big play right there. Sonic Wave connects. That is a tiny bit of damage. If I look at the first proc, that's 210. By a hair, grabs himself that one. Now YoungBuck is going to try to defend the tower. He's caught Wickd a little bit.
He's managed to chomp down on towards him. Subjugate has been used. He's going. Wickid's going to run away from this one. YoungBuck's going to try and catch out, but it's a flash from Wickd.
So in the 1v1, now that he's got the Giant's Belt and that Cutlass, Wickd, maybe a little nervous. He also wasn't 100% aware where everybody else was. Decides to back away, but they got the tower. So 3 towers to 1. Alliance have got all outers down for the Wolves.
And you can't underestimate how big a play that was, because that would have shifted it to what, 4,000 or 5,000 gold advantage for Alliance at 17 minutes in. That is a huge, huge turnaround just from a single click of the Q key.
So what I think we need to look for now in these next 5 to 10 minutes is how the Copenhagen Wolves try to force Alliance to fight. If you look at the 5v5 power, the Gragas, the Annie, the Trundle is going to work very well for the Wolves if they can get Alliance grouped, if they can force Alliance to either, defend a siege or maybe even siege up. Right now, Alliance, they've got the tools to play the map. You can leave Wickd to split push, and you can put Nidalee and Caitlyn on a tower, and that tower's going to go down quickly. And it looks like Alliance, they've started the siege.
One thing I will say for Alliance is when Wickd wins his lane, which he has done, he's taken that tower down no problem, they normally are a force to be reckoned with. They really are trouble for the opposition, and he has really done very well in that top lane with Aurelia once again. We see the spears and the siege is very much on here for the Copenhagen Wolves.
Yeah, right now Alliance are just trying to get onto this tower. You see Tabzz continuing throwing out. That's a cast just to clear the minion wave, and a great lantern out. Tower should go down shortly.
Oh, Tabzz is tanking this one completely out!
He's down!
And the rocket comes in. He was kind of asking for that one. He took about 3 tower hits.
That was a big misplay. I think you can't afford to be there.
So the problem there, and I hate to call him out on it, but Wickd took the lantern before, and Tabzz just was like, well, I'm going to have to tank this one out now because you've taken the lantern I should be taking.
They didn't get the tower either, which is even more important, is the tower was still standing there. The rest of the team backed away. We talked in the pregame how Alliance maybe need to get a voice, and that time it didn't work out. Now, Copenhagen Wolves, they've grouped in the top lane. All 5 members are there, and Froggen is not.
It's a quick rotation. You can see that ice pillar going down. YoungBuck making sure they stay away from this one. An easy turnaround with that top tower.
Yeah, right now the Copenhagen Wolves have 1 tower down, but Froggen is going to continue to play the map. He's going to split push, shove the wave in, and he's immediately going to roam. The mobility of Nearly is going to allow him to get in range of this middle tower as the tower's going to get secured on this minion wave.
They're going to take this one down. It just needs a quick 1 hit, which is what Shook does, and now they're going to keep pushing. They want to go for the inner.
Yeah, Copenhagen Wolves, this is a problem. When you force Copenhagen Wolves to react, they sometimes get caught out. Shook's coming in from the side. Oh, Amazing rather.
Amazing tries to come in and then doesn't have any fancy kicks this time around. cowTard comes in from the side as well. They wanted Alliance to stick around just a touch longer so they could throw out that explosive cask or manage to kick someone in, but Alliance quick to react and actually playing very well, tactically astute today.
I think this is what Alliance wants to do with their composition. Because the Caitlyn as well as Nidalee can really attack towers quickly, as can Wickd on Aurelia. If you force the Copenhagen Wolves to roam and rotate, it is something that has beaten the Wolves in the past. Force them to react to your aggressive play. Shook is now invading with the rest of his team supporting. Got to be a little careful because Copenhagen Wolves can start a fight.
Yeah, that spear comes in. Amazing use of the smite to close that one out, making sure they secure it. Of course, that means Alliance are going to run straight for the blue.
So blue will now at least be stolen away. So Alliance were challenging for the red. Wicked's been caught up. The rest of Alliance have backed away.
And Wickd is actually pretty low, but he's just going to take that lantern once again. And Nyph continually throwing out that life-saving device. Copenhagen Wolves, they're rotating. They want to push the mid lane, but Alliance are going to be in position to counter.
So Alliance have still had this small lead. You feel like they're controlling the tempo of the game, but Alliance, the Wolves rather, are now grouping up. They grouped up for the top tower. They're grouping in this mid lane. Teleport is available from YoungBuck. So let's see how the Wolves play this one out.
Oh, I thought Wickd may well go a little bit too deep here. They're going to go for that blue buff steal themselves. Oh,
he got it!
Tabzz returns the favor and keeps the blue buff. That's 2 blue buffs himself now.
Yes, so he stole the previous blue buff away from the Copenhagen Wolves on the retreat and manages to get the Piltover once again, this time on his own blue. So denying that objective, small little wins. The rest of the Wolves, they realize that middle tower is down, and there's a 3-man stack on this bottom lane. cowTard is not with them. It's just Amazing and the duo lane.
Can you imagine the argument between the mid lanes if you really could double stack that buff? I get double the cooldown, double the mana. You've got to give it me. No, not going to happen. Alliance, though, they are looking pretty good in this game against the Copenhagen Wolves, who have, as we mentioned, a 5-game win streak and looking to try and stretch that one out. They just saw SK Gaming go down. They're looking to try and tie up that 3rd spot.
So you have to give a little bit of props to the Copenhagen Wolves in this matchup so far. They have secured 2 towers. They've stolen away a dragon, and the CS in the mid lane is in favor of cowTard, whereas the CS by the AD carries is in favor of Tabzz. But I do feel like the Copenhagen Wolves had weaker lanes. If you looked at Trundle, if you looked at Jinx and Annie. So you almost expect them to be a little bit behind as we get to this 20-minute mark. The question is now, how do the Wolves claw back this 2,000, 3,000 gold deficit, and how do they force Alliance into team fights? Right now, Alliance are looking for a pick.
The dragon fight is a possibility. Amazing goes in, but he's gone a bit too deep, and Shook just wrecks him where he stands. All the help of Tabzz. Tabzz off at the sides. The Pillar of Ice is actually doing him a great defensive favor. YoungBuck flashes in, doesn't realize the tower's still there, and suddenly has to back away, and the Wolves, well, they find themselves in trouble. They're losing out in the top lane, and now they may lose out at Dragon.
Yeah, they've lost 1 for 1, but it was the jungler that went down for the Wolves. So if they start off Dragon, it's going to be a little bit risky. Shook was forced low. Teleport used just to defend the tower. They got the summoner spell as well.
Keeping themselves the inner turret, it does mean that the Dragon will probably be taken by Alliance, but at the moment, they don't seem interested.
No, I don't think Alliance are really trying to force a fight around Dragon, and once again, it's because of the power of the Copenhagen Wolves. In a 5v5 scenario, Alliance have slightly less tools to work with. They need to get poked. Right now, Alliance have started, and cowTard wants to steal.
The last one was stolen away, but not going to happen this time around. Shook just gets blown away by that explosive cast.
Yeah, manages to smite that one, so they secured that dragon, and that was a fairly safe pick. Nobody from the Wolves is able to react quickly enough. You actually see them in lane. YoungBuck teleport to top. cowTard's been caught.
He's been stunned out here. Wickd continuing to chase it. He's got a lot of burn on towards him. Amazing comes in to try and support him. And if one of those spears were going to come out, if Froggen really wasn't interested in that fight, actually, he just carried on farming at the back.
Yeah, Froggen wanted his CS. That was what was important to him. We did see Wickd doing very, very well with that Trinity Force just sticking to cowTard. And it's in part due to the fairly easy laning phase that he's had. You know, he was being uncontested. He was challenging YoungBuck several times. I think YoungBuck is starting to hit a point where he can start to 1v1 Wickd, but we actually need to see if YoungBuck's brave enough to do that.
Well, so far we pointed out Amazing and Shook in that featured matchup, but it's definitely Shook, the former Copenhagen Wolves player, is doing a fantastic job so far. 2 kills, of course, being involved in everything seemingly for Alliance. But, as you mentioned, the Wolves, they are not down and out. It's a 4,000 gold differential, but they are still pushing the lanes.
So you have to remember, in picks and bans, Copenhagen Wolves banned out Wukong. They believed, or they felt, that Wukong was more impactful than banning something like Elise. So Elise was available. We've seen a first pick, Lee Sin, for Amazing. He's 0-1-2 right now. The previous play in that Dragon fight, he actually tried to flash over to get a Dragon's Rage kick backwards on members of Alliance, but Nyph held him in place. He had a good flame and a good death sentence that prevented that from happening. So the Wolves are still looking for an opportunity where they can force Alliance to fight on their terms, and assuming Copenhagen Wolves can start a fight, they've also got the tools to finish that fight. But it is very difficult catching Alliance in a position they don't want to be in.
That bottom tower really has not taken a great deal of damage, and Alliance are actually positioning to try and gank this bottom lane, it seems. They are actually being cut out by cowTard, and suddenly they've realized the danger. They're making a run for it. Yeah,
immediately Forgiven and Limited back away. Alliance have been very brave in the jungle. That's a good flash. Polarivice catching Wickd out. He didn't want a 2-on-1. And I think what Alliance have done very well this game is ward up Copenhagen Wolves jungle and challenge for buffs. Once again, this is going to be a red buff that's stolen away, and nobody from the Wolves can even defend.
Not even close by at the moment. It's just simply cowTard keeping them off this mid lane. All 5 members now of Alliance all rotating in towards this mid lane push. They could go for it, or they're going to go straight towards the blue. They know the timers.
So Alliance are pretty confident in moving as a team. They've got a gold lead. I wonder if they know quite how far it is. That's a max range Nidalee toss. Blue's being stolen. Here comes YoungBuck from the side, but he might be a little late.
He's a little late to the party, and well, he does manage to land the Pillar of Ice. The rest of the Wolves are coming in. They want to try and pincer someone off. They're going to throw out the barrels. The lantern is there. Shook's not going to take it. Unlimited gets caught out completely. He just gets dropped where he stands. Now Amazing's in trouble. cowTard's getting locked up around the side. He's having to run for his life, but Shook comes in. He's trying to sink those fangs in. Has he got the damage? YoungBuck goes down to Froggen, and the Copenhagen Wolves are just floundering right now. It's Alliance in full control, and they're going for Baron.
That was a perfect play from Alliance. They stayed grouped up, they stayed tightly knit. The Copenhagen Wolves tried to engage, but they came from 2 different sides, and those pincer movements have to be pulled off perfectly. It didn't work out for them this time around. Alliance grabbed 2 kills, they grab a Baron, and now they've got a commanding lead in the game. If Alliance now want to start the siege game, they've got all the tools available. Look at Copenhagen Wolves, they're completely split up. Unlimited gets burst out before he can even get Tabzz down on the map. And Alliance are just really zoning out Copenhagen Wolves perfectly. They catch every single member one by one. I don't think we've seen Forgiven doing anything this fight because he had to run away so early on.
Somewhat suicidal play from Unlimited there, really. He had flashed that Tabzz available and just wasn't able to do it because he just strolled on into the entire Alliance team. I'm not too sure what he was thinking.
Yeah, and I think you also do have to give a high five to Nyph. He did land a death sentence as well. He was able to at least, you know, keep them in place a little bit longer with the box. So, you know, it's as much Copenhagen Wolves coming in from a poor angle and maybe being a little split up, and points to Alliance for capitalizing. They weren't afraid to jump in there. They got the kill, and then all of a sudden the Wolves were retreating.
Well, Alliance now have themselves full control of this matchup. We do see the bottom lane tower finally going down, so Copenhagen Wolves are not down and out just yet. It is a 5,000 gold differential between these teams. And Alliance, of course, with that Baron buff, you'd expect them to be grouping and pushing this mid lane.
Yeah, I think they still want to just shove out the rest of the waves. There's an inner turret in the mid lane, a turret in the top lane. In order for the siege to work for Alliance, I still feel like they need to make sure they've got good vision. You know, they don't want to run the risk of having Gragas Barrel knock them out of position or, you know, being caught out. Those Nidalee Spears are exactly what's going to help them get the tower down, land 1 or 2, force Wolves back, and there you go, tower.
Amazing getting caught out as well. That tower will go down. It's a case of who will they land. The hook not going to go through in there from Nyph. You saw some of those big plays that he did earlier on at the start of the show, and really is Alliance in full control right now, pushing on, as you mentioned. There's top wave. Well, it's going to slow push in a moment. It's got a long way off, though. The bottom lane, we did see Wickd going down there, but he hasn't really shoved it out.
So Wicked's got that teleport available. He's moving up to the top lane. Because of the fact that Alliance have got such great poke in the form of Elise, Caitlyn, and Nidalee, they're just going to spam out those skill shots, and assuming they don't eat too many of those Gragas barrels, they can get some poke down. The question is now, can the Copenhagen Wolves engage? It could be a flash Tabzz from Unlimited that starts it off.
The spears are starting to cause problems. You already saw YoungBuck there just getting caught by one of the spears. They are being forced back away from this turret, quickly doing a dash away. It's like a relay race back to the fountain right now to get that health regenerated. Forgiven himself, he's just trying to lifesteal off the minions. Ooh. But every time they take one of those spears, it's a danger sign for the Copenhagen Wolves.
Yeah, if cowTard is the one that gets poked down, that's what's going to allow Alliance to actually get the tower. cowTard is doing such great wave clear. Look at that. Unlimited forced away, so the engage potential is minimized as now Wickd is on that top turret.
Yeah, the top turret's going to go down. Wickd, no doubt about that one. And then will they continue pushing through here? It's a good siege from Alliance. They're going to have both top and middle inhibitor being pressured. It takes advantage, gets one shot on their Tabzz. Make sure he continues it out. Spears continuing to fly, and with that blue buff on with Froggen, it's just going to keep on going.
Yeah, when you've got a poke composition like this, when you've got that Caitlyn and Nidalee to deal with, the best way to actually get in their faces is with hard engage. Something like a Vi or a Leona would be good. Copenhagen Wolves are a bit reliant on a Sonic Wave connecting or Unlimited getting a Flash Tabzz, and they're being very hesitant. They're just scared of that Baron.
They try to go for the Flash Tabzz, not going to happen. The Flash came out, but Froggen was quick to react to there and turns around, tosses a spear in the back of Amazing. And cowTard, well, he wants to maybe try and engage her on those belly slam barrels, but he's having to use that belly slam to get out of the way of the spears.
Yeah, they're so scared of taking that poke. We see now that YoungBuck moved to the top lane to clear the wave away. Wickd has rejoined in the mid. Now he's on the front line. There is the potential for a dive if Alliance want to go in. Instead, going to back away. Baron's just worn off.
All those traps doing wonders and keeping them at bay. And well, it was a good siege for Alliance. They only got the top inner turret, though. They didn't manage to get a great deal of damage at all. You can see the inhibitor turret barely touched effectively. Alliance, though, backing off. The rocket was used on the red buff, I think. They're trying to catch it out, trying to catch someone away from that one. But the Dragon's going to get picked up by Alliance nonetheless, and the gold will continue to flow.
10,000 gold right now, and Alliance have just got all the tools that they need to control the tempo of the game. We've seen the same thing from Fnatic when they beat Gambit, and I think we're going to expect more of the same here. Alliance just looking for opportunities on the map, looking for places where they can land some poke, land some siege, and then go for inhibitor turrets.
Well, Froggen pounces in there. He's going to keep on, steal away that blue buff, and he will manage to get himself that one away. At the moment, it is Alliance looking strong.
Now, as it stands, we do see Alliance once again with those buff steals. I think the last 3 times that red and blue buff have spawned, they have challenged for them. They've got red twice, that's the 3rd blue in a row that they've stolen away. Alliance are not letting the Copenhagen Wolves into their own jungle, and it's just very, very good play.
Oh, the spear from Froggen nearly taking down cowTard there. Just drilling away his hit points, and he's going to have to dash away from that one. As it stands, the only one howling at the moment is Froggen on Nidalee. He is forcing the Copenhagen Wolves in a dire situation.
And we see Wickd picking himself up that Frozen Heart. It's an item we don't see super often. More often than not, we see the Randian's Omen as your primary armor stat. But what I like about it, Trundle, Lee Sin, and Jinx all have attack speed steroids built into their kit. They all gain additional attack speed. And because they're all very reliant on auto attacks, the attack speed reduction of that Frozen Heart is going to be very useful.
Yeah, and you were talking earlier how Alliance have been shoving it into, maybe trying to literally shoving it in the face of the Copenhagen Wolves. They want to speed up this fight. You look at YoungBuck, he hasn't even completed that Sunfire Cape. He's been sitting on those 2 uncompleted items for a long period of time, which is why he's not able to shove those wave out. You just saw him down the bottom lane. We see Wickid's going to quickly counter that one. Explosive cast used on Nyph, but it's not really going to catch anything out, and they could turn this one back around. Spear lands on Unlimited. The Copenhagen Wolves are running scared once again. Another spear comes in. This time it's on Amazing. Death sentence on towards YoungBuck. YoungBuck, the tankiest member of the team. He's just getting drilled down. Amazing takes one for the team. Has to kick Shook away. Nyph's going to continue chasing the hook again on cowTard. This time around, he's not going to get away, and Alliance are pouncing on the Wolves.
And because of the damage and the rest of the Wolves, Alliance are going to get their turret and the inhibitor for this one. That was a very, very good play.
Great turnaround, Alliance pushing on there, and again, it's Nyph creating the plays for Alliance, and the Copenhagen Wolves are absolutely lost. They don't know what to do here. The Baron is just spawning. Alliance are running for it.
I think the Copenhagen Wolves needed that fight a little bit earlier on. We've seen cowTard going for the flash, body slam, explosive cast combo, and it didn't work out. Nyph was able to get some distance thanks to the Talisman of Ascension. Now all of a sudden, Baron has spawned. By time Copenhagen Wolves get there, they're not even going to try for this one actually. It's going to get secured. The bomb? No. I think somebody tanked it.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure somebody tanked
Froggen
it.
took it to the face and just healed himself up there. So they were kind of expecting that one to come in. Of course, he would take it with splash damage, pretty much like the Ash Arrow, I believe.
Significantly more splash damage, but yes,
just a little bit.
The same theory is there. So Alliance, they get the second Baron of the game. They've got an inhibitor down in the middle lane, and I think because they've got this poke, because they've got this combo that just wants to basically harass you away and then take the objective unchallenged, Alliance are just going to rinse and repeat this, either in the top or the bottom lane, allow super minions to do the work in the middle, and then pick the fight.
So, as it stands, it's the 2 kills for the Copenhagen Wolves, and really they were very early on in that bottom lane, Alliance and Nyph. But Alliance, while it's been a low-scoring kill game, they really have been pouring the pressure on, but the Copenhagen Wolves, and many teams have actually said this, I distinctly remember having conversations with RNA before about Copenhagen Wolves just won't fight you. They'll just keep backing away from those fights. And that's what's happening. Alliance are pushing it, but they can't get hold of the Wolves.
No, and that's the problem. The Wolves' playstyle is incredibly safe. It's something that we talk about when we prepare for the shows and we prepare for Copenhagen Wolves games. They don't take risks. They only play safe. Right now, the Copenhagen Wolves are trying to take their own jungle, and it's meant that Alliance have got themselves a very good position on this top turret. The minion wave, unfortunately, wasn't there to back them up, and now the Wolves are here to defend. Super minions are still in the middle of the wave, so Wolves have got a little bit of time. The turrets.
Yeah, the siege potential once again. There's spears that are just going to do more and more damage. You can already see Unlimited. He's been chunked down, having to head back to that fountain. Wickd just trying to bide in time. They're using that ace in the hole as well on cooldown. The moment that comes back up, they're getting on towards it. Tabzz, though, just gets healed up. Look at that. Froggen full heal straight away.
And that would have been the perfect moment to go in. Land the slow from Wolves aren't there as a 5-man. Unlimited was healing. We've seen amazing backing off the heal. Now they're looking for another opportunity, and Alliance are just going to keep rinsing and repeating this, getting auto attack, healing the little bit of poke that comes down, and then waiting for that key moment to either grab the objective or force the fight.
Of course, with that Baron buff, they're just waiting. cowTard desperately wants to get in there. Belly slam, throw out that explosive cask, but not able to do it. Tri-cast the area of these Piltover traps, just keeping them at bay, and slowly but surely that turret is going down. There was the explosive cask. It did next to nothing. They're going deep. They get the Timbers down there. Tabzz is going to be the focus, but they still can't get him down. You can see YoungBuck, he's going in. He gets hooked up by Nyph. Shook's taken pretty low. This is not a bad turnaround for Gibbons, trying to put the damage down, but again, just not enough.
All of the damage was not on the carries. It was Wickd and Shook that was focused down. Look at that ace in the hole. Now Alliance are on the turrets.
That's the AD carry taking a single ability there from the opposition, and he just can't face it. They've got super minions coming in the mid lane while this is all happening. Alliance will back out. I feel they maybe could have finished the game there.
Yeah, Alliance playing this one safe. I think there's no real reason to risk it. They can back away, spend whatever money they've got, take control of the jungle again, and then just go for that final push. The thing that I liked about Alliance's play there was that they didn't put themselves in any risk at all. They waited for some poke to land and backed away, and cowTard's explosive cast, it did nothing. It did absolutely nothing in that scenario, and you can't have that when that is one of your key initiation tools.
Yeah, it's a bit of a problem. Alliance taking down that dragon, while Tabzz effectively doing it all on his own, and now it's a 15,000 gold advantage. Tabzz,
that's brave.
That is very brave of him when he's only got that single bit of coverage. Of course, the rest of his team are joining him, so he kind of felt comfortable. He could have just used that 90 caliber net, and Copenhagen Wolves are going to try and set a trap.
There's a timing limit on this because there's super minions going top and middle lane. If Copenhagen Wolves are held into an extended fight and Alliance can delay them, the minions will get onto the Nexus turret. Wolves are backing away.
Wolves not quite sure in themselves here. This is a little discussion that you can see it's actually forgiven. He's like, I'm going to stand in this one. Let's avoid the bush, which is what they did. Oh, but the ward spots them out there, and now they go headlong into a spear, and Alliance are happy to take this one. They've still got that Baron buff. Actually, Tell Lights just ran out there. Froggen, though, gets caught out with a zap. They haven't got the pace to catch on towards them, and Limited's going to get tingled out again. Ace in the hole. Will the spear land? Oh, it will, but it's not enough. That shield just about holding on. But
now we see the rest of Alliance sieging up. They're onto the final inhibitor turret. We see Wickd on Aurelia. He's in the mid lane on the inhibitor. This is going to be an attack on two fronts. The Wolves can't deal with it on one front.
YoungBuck's going to cross to try and keep him at bay there, but I'm not too sure he's really got the power in him front. cowTard just dodging out. He gets caught by the cocoon. The spear is not ready to follow on. Froggen a little bit delayed on that one. Meanwhile, in that mid lane, still Wickd causing all sorts of problems for YoungBuck. He hasn't even popped that Banshee's Veil yet. He just keeps hammering away on him with that club. Forgiven is back now. They are going to keep this tower safe for now.
So the wave clear is pretty good from cowTard. He's able to at least delay this, but look at the life regen for Tabzz plus the heal from Froggen. They're already back up to full HP, and Alliance are just going to keep doing this one. The inhibitor's still standing in the mid lane.
With that rocket down from Forgiven, it means they're going to go for it. Amazing tries to go in there, but well, the Death Sentence just pulled him straight in. Tabzz comes out, does next to nothing. The spears continuing to flow from Froggen. The tower will be beaten down. We do see Wickd coming in around the side. That's just absolute destruction. cowTard didn't even know what hit him there. Forgiven gets annihilated, and Alliance are just going to push on through and take this game. It was a 5-game win streak for the Copenhagen Wolves, but now they've met Alliance, and Alliance take the victory over the Wolves.
A very good play from Shook. He lands the cocoon on Amazing, preventing any form of initiation. Alliance, a controlled game, a slower game, but they played it perfectly.
And this is the second day running the Copenhagen Wolves have had such control in their game. And again, you've got to give credit. The top lane, Wickd, won out that lane fair and square, dominated it, and when he's not really a problem, the rest of the team, they just can deal with themselves. Great work from Shook there this time around, absolutely outplaying Amazing. 4-0-5 for that mid lane.
Every single member of Alliance did what they needed to do that game. Elise made it through, and we keep harping on about Elise because she's banned so frequently and specifically against Shook. It's something we've seen many, many times. This time around, Shook made it work. His cocoons were landing, he was ganking when he needed to, and truthfully, that just helped him win. His lanes was doing it for them. You know, Wickd did well in the top lane, Tabzz and Nyph did well in the bottom lane, and it was just an all-round very good performance from Alliance.
Yeah, 0-2-2 for the Lee Sin this time around on Amazing. It was their first pick. Not work this time around. Very well played by Alliance. Froggen very happy about that one. This is the team that he put together himself. He had the pick of the European superstars effectively. Everybody wanted to be on this team. These are the players that he chose, and they are finally starting to find their feet. It's in week 8. Is it too late?
So the thing that I like about this